This is the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn to live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of my series on hormones in flux, the biological changes of perimenopause and menopause, and how it relates to alcohol consumption in women. In case you're wondering why this is a 3-part series, I'll give you a bit of the inspiration from where this sprouted. I had a graduation call the other day with a Project 90, our 90-day alcohol cessation program. And I was speaking with a wonderful gentleman who is just about to complete his program with us, moving into Beyond 90. And as we reflected on his time and his accomplishments, the wins, the challenges, and how he faced them, with the support of our community and our coaches and our neuroscience, he mentioned something that really struck me. He said, Coach V, I didn't realize how many women struggle with alcohol. I thought it was a guy thing. That really hit me. And I hate to say it, but if you're a woman, you know that women's health is only recently really emerging into a topic that is well studied, researched, funded, and frankly discussed. Um, in our hectic lives and our tendency to be caregivers, whether that's for children, parents, friends, community members, however it shows up in your life, it's a bit unfamiliar for most women to take care of themselves. That was certainly the situation for me. As I mentioned in episode 1, releasing alcohol was always on my to-do list. And like lots of things on my to-do list, raising 4 kids, working, it didn't always come to fruition. I didn't get to mark that completed checkbox on a few things, and especially releasing alcohol. I did some digging, and the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Addiction conducted a study, and they concluded that over the past 15 years, alcohol consumption among women aged 40 to 55 has notably increased. They published their study in 2015, and they observed that between 2002 and 2012, alcohol use and binge drinking rates among U.S. women rose significantly. The research also highlighted that over the past decade, rates of alcohol use disorders, AUD, have surged, ready for this, by 84%, compared with a 35% increase in men. That's astounding. And that study went through 2015, before the pandemic. It's no coincidence that women are drinking more, and that's for another episode. But wow, they saw that marketers saw that we weren't drinking enough. They decided to target us. You see it all over the liquor stores. Mommy juice, mommy wine, you wine, I drink wine. It's so cute, right? Except if you're listening to this episode, it's probably not cute for you. And whether you started misusing alcohol at a very young age, in your 30s, or 40s and 50s, or beyond. This episode's for you. In episode 1, we did talk about the biological changes of perimenopause and menopause and how that can really exacerbate already existing significant changes in our hormones. In this episode, we're going to talk about the vicious cycle of alcohol, sleep, and mood disruptions. We're going to talk about how alcohol use impacts sleep and mood and creates that cycle, reinforcing alcohol misuse during these critical years in a woman's life. Let me take you back to around 2012. I was 42, drinking wine to, quote, relax, deal with anxiety, falling asleep, waking up around 3 a.m., heart racing, dry mouth, a sense of dread, a sense of shame. Wow, this is starting to take on a life of its own, this drinking. I got to do something about this. Not to mention the night sweats, which are exacerbated by drinking. I didn't know that at the time, but it was miserable. I felt exhausted all of the time. The thing is, ladies and men, if you're listening and you care about a female who may be struggling, the thing is, it's so insidious and so subtle that we can't always connect the dots. And certainly, society is not educating us around alcohol very much. There's some studies, there's some press about alcohol in women, but it's certainly a quiet voice in comparison to the loud, loud voice of the alcohol marketers, of society, of the happy hours, the girls' nights, the half off bottle of wine nights, all those things. And so, is it any wonder that you haven't uncovered this information through the cacophony of blabber coming from those other sources? So let's talk about, what is happening. I discussed in episode 1 what's happening to our dopamine, our serotonin levels. There's more at work. That stuff is happening whether we're drinking or not. When we're drinking, even moderate amounts, the symptoms increase, the symptoms get worse. That's around the time that a lot of women start to say, wait a minute, what's this plot twist? It used to relax me, and now it's just making things worse. The issue is, by the point that happens, often we are kind of stuck in that cycle. We have moved often from habit to dependence and maybe teetering or sliding into the phase of addiction. I hope that if you are in the dependence or addiction phase, that you won't give up on yourself. And listening to this podcast is an indication that you haven't. James, Terry, David, and I, and the whole team at AFL certainly aren't giving up on you. Why is it that alcohol makes us feel drowsy? Why is it that it helps us sleep? Well, there is an initial sedation. It gives us that surge of dopamine, and then the dopamine dips, and we may feel relaxed. It impacts our muscle coordination, so we're not as fidgety, perhaps. We're chilling out. So it is a sedative. So many women in the perimenopause and menopause phases are struggling to fall asleep. Alcohol seems to do the trick. So, why don't we wake up feeling refreshed and ready to tackle the day? Well, as we, it's always important to get quality sleep, but as it becomes more elusive, again, this is such a slow decline, but the REM sleep is really, really impacted again, even without alcohol in the mix. It's harder to get that deep, restorative REM sleep. When we add alcohol, like I said, it sedates us, we feel relaxed, we fall asleep, but the REM cycle becomes much shorter. If you have an Aura Ring or some other sleep tracker, look at your REM sleep. So we're sleeping, but it's lighter sleep. It doesn't really refresh us. And then again, as I said, those other symptoms, they're so lovely, aren't they? The night sweats, the increased anxiety, we're just pouring gasoline on them. So it's worse. And then, of course, when you're waking up at 3 a.m., hot and sweaty, mind racing, what are we thinking about? We're thinking about the alarm that's going to go off in a few hours. And oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this day? I need to go back to sleep. I got to go back to sleep. I got to go back to sleep. It just adds to it. And then, of course, the shame. Why did I do that again? I wasn't going to do that. What happens when we wake up in the morning? Well, we've got a tendency to have mood disturbances. Do you wake up after a night of drinking, after dealing with yet another night of perimenopause and menopausal symptoms? Do you wake up feeling excited to see the people around you? Are you bouncing around the kitchen as you make your coffee? Are you smiling at yourself in the mirror as you prepare for the day? Are you patient with your kids when they yet again have lost a shoe? Or yet again forgot to have you sign that permission slip until they're about to get out of the car? Are you patient with your aging parents who, although they don't want to be, are becoming more and more needy and dependent on you? How about with your coworkers? Again, these symptoms may exist. We may be more prone to that anyway as our hormones fluctuate, except alcohol is making it worse. What's that lead to? It leads to the negative feedback loop, the shame spiral, the overwhelm, the hopelessness. Is this what I have to look forward to for the next few decades? Great. Right, I get it. And so that negative feedback loop very often makes us even more likely to use alcohol to cope. Here's the thing, gosh, when we're exhausted, we've had a poor night's sleep, we've been snappy, we're just completely beating ourselves up about doing it again. And we lack the tools. We may know some tools. Well, go take a walk, go do this. Yeah, no one feels like doing that. When a glass or 3 or 4 of wine is going to check that box and make you feel better right away, why bother getting dressed and going out for a walk when you can just have a drink? We know better, but doing better isn't always easy, is it? Especially at the end of a long day. It can create some really, really, it breaks my heart the way we treat ourselves when we fall into this cycle, ladies. It really does. I look back at myself and I was so mean to myself. I thought, what is wrong with you? Here I was in the wellness profession, degree in dietetics. I could tell you pretty much anything you'd want to know about food and how to be healthy, how to move your body, recover from injuries, have better movement patterns, better posture, core strength, all these things when I was teaching Pilates. And I couldn't get out of my own damn way. And I thought it was all my fault.
Hi there, James Swanwick. Just a quick invitation for you to watch the scientifically proven stop drinking methodology that's been helping hundreds of successful people all over the world to reduce or stop drinking. If you go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90, you can watch the free neuroscience-based training. There's also a link in the show notes. Okay, back to the show.
We'll get to that in a minute. Let's also talk about the physical and psychological dependency that is very likely to occur during this period. I mentioned dependence and addiction. You know, if you look back at how you drank a few years ago, do you drink more now? Did you 5 years ago think that you would drink the way you do now? Or did you think, no, there's no way? Of course, I'm not going to do that. You guys, I don't know. I don't care if we're talking about cocaine or pills or alcohol. It all follows the same path. It's just that some things, some drugs, those hard street drugs, it shows up quicker and it's more visible, isn't it? With alcohol, it's slow and insidious. And that's why to look back and have that perspective of, man, I did not think I'd ever drink like this, can be, no pun intended, sobering. Because you may think that, I'll never be like some of the people I know of who've had alcohol use disorder or problem drinking. I'll never be like that. Except, did you think you'd be like this? That's what it was like for me. I knew it was an issue. It was kind of like out on the periphery, and it felt like it was closing in on me. And I'm so grateful I got out when I did, because now it's been years and I cannot imagine what my life would be like now. And I'm no different than you are. No different. Understanding the science can be the breakthrough you may need to take action, because you've tried the willpower. You know, it's not sustainable. You've tried taking breaks and you go back. And so when I talk about the slow, insidious decline into more and more alcohol use, what I'm discussing here is tolerance. And that means the brain starts to need more alcohol to achieve the same relief from anxiety or sleep issues. And so think about the way you used to drink. Maybe you did have a glass or two of wine, except then it wasn't making you drowsy, wasn't giving you the desired effect. So it moved to 3. And then what happened? See what I mean? Another thing that alcohol impacts is GABA. It's gamma aminobutyric acid. And that's a neurotransmitter that also calms the brain. So when I describe that initial relaxation, you're also getting a boost in GABA. Now, you may see this in the supplement stores. Oh, take GABA to fall asleep. That may be true. However, over time, just like with the dopamine and serotonin that I spoke of earlier, GABA production decreases significantly. And even if you're taking a supplement, it is unlikely to be able to keep up with the draining effects of alcohol. Cortisol levels also contribute to sleep. If you're finding that the weight keeps creeping up, it may have something to do with cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone. When we are in a fight or flight response state, cortisol levels increase. Well, what happens in this cycle of drinking? We're more and more anxious, more and more stressed. Daily life things tend to just be exacerbated and seem so big and so unmanageable that we spend more and more time in that heightened state, meaning the cortisol levels go up and up and up. You may experience adrenal fatigue and weight gain that just won't go away. And as I said earlier, oftentimes during this period in life, we say, well, I guess this is just how it is. No, trust us. That's not just how it is. You can take back your health. You've seen the pattern. And if you're listening to this, you're not a herd mentality kind of person. I know that. You've achieved a lot in life because you're not afraid to do the work. You're not afraid to take a chance on something if you are pretty certain it's going to pay off in the long run. I know that for sure. And women, we are strong and resilient. And we deserve something better than what that bottle is promising us and failing to deliver over and over and over again. So imagine waking up without that dry mouth, without the shame, without the guilt, knowing that you didn't ingest hundreds and hundreds of calories, empty calories of alcohol, followed by eating who knows what. Think about waking up feeling rested. What would it feel like to look into sleep hygiene, sleep routines that serve you, ways to increase your REM sleep, ways to restore while you're resting? Isn't that a great use of your time as you move further down the road into middle age and through middle age? You know, I'm 54 now, and I've been in menopause for 6 years since I had my hysterectomy during breast cancer treatment. And the years before that, they were gross with the perimenopause and the drinking. Just wretched. And I didn't realize it until I was out of it. I knew I felt like garbage. I didn't realize how much control I had over it. And although it comes with challenges, these menopausal years, I feel good knowing that I'm not doing anything to make it harder. There's actually a lot of great things that happen during this period of our lives. And I'm done letting alcohol have a vote in how these years go. You and I have both worked really hard to get to where we are in life. We've overcome challenges, we've suffered loss, heartbreak, victories, and bliss. Why would you let that continue to be taken away? Well, I know why. But let's try on a different mindset. Let's do this together. Go ahead and book that free call if you didn't after my invitation during episode 1. 15 minutes. Who knows what it might lead to? 15 minutes that could start to put things back into balance and put you back in the driver's seat. I'll see you soon for episode 3, which will explore some of the risks associated with drinking, but don't be scared to hear it because I'm also going to cover healthier alternatives. We are worth it, ladies. Join me in reclaiming your health. Until next time, take good care and have an awesome day.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to learn more about our stop drinking services, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com. You can follow me on Instagram at James Swanwick. Our YouTube channel is at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube, or you can send me an email at james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com.